first step to our app development process is typically to design the user interface, or at the very least get all the UI elements that we want onto our emulator screen so that we can connect actions and outlets and start implementing any functionality that might be associated with the user interface. Now, whatever we do here won't be the final draft. We'll kind of tweak the appearance of it at the very end, space everything out nicely and add some color and all that. We just want to get all of the elements onto our interface so that again we can start implementing the functionality needed. So we'll do all of this right in our main.storyboard file, so go ahead and open that up. If you want a new window, you can double click on this. If you just want it in the single window, just single click and it'll bring it up. Okay, so I don't really need this panel up on the left, so I'm just going to close it up there. We're going to switch from the iPhone 7 to the iPhone SE. That's going to be this one here. And let's bring this back down. We can zoom back up to 100% if we want. And so this is going to be kind of our emulator screen here. So all of the elements that we'll want to choose from will be in this box at the bottom right. Make sure you have this guy open here. And this gives you access to the object library. So we simply drag and drop everything that we want on our interface from this box onto here. And I guess we'll start with some way to input some kind of numbers in here. Now, this is pretty typical for a calculator, and I'm sure that you guys watched the demo at the very beginning and saw that there's just going to be a simple input box. There'll be kind of a clear button, and then we'll have the 4 basic operations, a calculate button, and then some way to display the answer at the bottom. Okay, so likely we'll need about 4 or 5 buttons. In fact, make that 5 or 6 buttons, some kind of input, and then some kind of a label or some way to display the final answer. So we might as well do things from top to bottom. Go ahead and look through here. We want to search for a text field. Okay, so this is the easiest way to display single line editable text. So you can kind of think of this as a text input box. So we'll simply click on this, make sure it's highlighted, and then we'll go ahead and just drag it in. So make sure that when you kind of hover over your emulator screen here, this green plus is appearing. Okay, and just drag it into the corner there, that's fine. Again, we'll kind of fiddle around with the spacing a bit towards the end. So just drag this out, make sure we have enough room here, and then that should be good to go. I guess we'll give this some kind of a placeholder text. So go to your attributes inspector, that's this guy here. We'll click on that and get rid of any text that might be there. Let's enter some placeholder text such as input here, or input numbers here or something. Okay, and let's just center it. Okay, so now the users know to enter the input here, and what the placeholder does is it provides this kind of faint text which disappears as soon as the user goes to edit this. This is different from adding just the actual text up here, because then that would cause the user to have to delete what's already on the screen. Okay, cool. So we've got a way to input text now. We'll connect the outlet to our view controller in just a little bit. Let's get everything onto our interface first. Okay, next order of business is to add the button that will take care of clearing anything that we might want to enter here. So let's just drag that up here. Again, we'll kind of keep everything in line for now, and we can fine-tune the spacing a little later on. So just drag this out. Let's change up the text. You see it says button here. Let's just have it say something like clear for now. And I think I'll give these guys, I'll actually change the background of all of our buttons once we have them on, just so that we know they're actually there, because right now it just looks like an edit text or something. Okay, so from here, we actually are just going to do a little shortcut. We're going to do a Command D, which will just duplicate. Okay, so now how I added the second button also says clear right now. We'll change that in just a second, but let's just move it down here. So this is going to be our addition button, so let's just add the plus there. Okay, and again we'll duplicate this. Next one will be our minus operation. So we'll change that plus to a minus, and let's duplicate this again. Okay, next up will be the multiplication one. So let's just add a star, or you can do the X if you like. Okay, once more duplicate, and this one's going to be our divide button. So let's just have the divide symbol there. Okay, and finally we'll just have one more duplicate. This is going to be to actually calculate our answer. So we can replace this slash with a calculate text or something like this. Okay, now all of these are buttons, but it's kind of hard to tell that. We only really know they're buttons because of the blue text, and it's hard to see exactly what the boundaries are. So it's not very good design. I think for now we'll just give these guys a little bit of a background color, maybe like a gray or something, just so that we know they're there. And of course, we'll probably change how the actual interface looks towards the end. So if you hold Shift and click on multiple elements, it'll select them all as you click on them. Now, sometimes we can modify the multiple attributes for multiple different UI elements, but in this case we want to only change all of the buttons, so make sure to exclude our text field here. So in this case, all I want to do is change the background color, so that should be down here. See where it says background? Alright, let's select this, and we'll just choose the silver, or even we can go something with a mercury or something like that. If you're finding the text kind of hard to read, then again, select them all. Okay, and we'll just increase the font size to about 25, and that should be readable enough. Alright, we just have one more element to add, and that's actually going to be a label. Okay, this is used to display static text. Okay, and let's just drag and drop that in. And by static text, I mean we can change this programmatically, but this is not user enabled, so the user can't actually interact with this UI element directly. So it's unlike the text field in that way, because the user can edit this text and the user can interact with the buttons simply by pressing on them, but the label is simply to display text. So let's just center this. Might as well bring it up to 20, and we can have this display some text instead of placeholder. This one's just going to display answer. Now, if for whatever reason you added a label and you do want the user to be able to interact, let's just scroll down here. This is where we would change that. So underneath where it says view, we would simply check off this box that says user interaction enabled. If you click on your buttons or on your text field here, you should actually see that user interaction is already enabled. Okay, and same with the input text here. Of course, it makes sense. We do want the users to be able to interact with these elements. If you uncheck those boxes, then these essentially act like labels because there's nothing we can really do with them. Alright, so I'm just going to do one last thing with these elements, actually, before I forget, because I know if I leave it to the end, I definitely will. Oh, and actually, let's change this to the SE, speaker things I always forget. So, and that's just going to be to add some constraints, okay? So we'll select, again, all the items of the same type. So these are all buttons here. We'll go to our size inspector. Okay, and I'm just going to select these guys here. So these will take care of our resizing, and actually I'm going to unselect those. Okay, and we'll do pretty much the same for the other two as well. We can do the same for label. So let's get rid of these, and we'll just select these guys. All right, and with this one, because the text box is a little weird, actually I'm going to change it up now. I don't really like this style too much because it doesn't allow for resizing vertically, only horizontally. So we just change a border style to take care of that issue. Let's have this one with kind of like the indent style. I kind of like that. So you'll note we can now increase the height of it. So we'll go to, again, our size inspector, and let's just make the same modifications that we had before. And this will take care of resizing. So now note that if I switch to smaller sizes, it doesn't completely blow everything out of proportion. Everything kind of keeps those same proportions there, even if we go up to a really big size. Okay, so back to the iPhone SE, and that is pretty much all we want to do here. So the goal for this part was really just to get all of the items that we'll need to interact with onto our emulator screen. Okay, so I think we won't need to add any more UI elements. This is all we need. The only modification we'd make to this is to, of course, make it look a little better. So when we come back to this at the very end, we'll work on resizing things, making these guys bigger, or spacing everything out, keeping everything in line, and then we can add some nice colors and customize the text and everything. Otherwise, let's give this a save, and I think we'll stop here. In the next section, we're going to be working on connecting any necessary actions and outlets that we might need for this calculator app.